Browns everything. Super utility man, Nathan Zegura. Nathan, man, what's happening? Thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure. What's happening is we got training camp. We got the pads coming tomorrow. We're, 5 days in. Tomorrow, the big one, obviously, with the pads. But it's an exciting time, and, people are awesome having the fans back at training camp. And so what's going on is, we're taking steps. It feels like we're crawling, and I know so many people just want to see this team in action, but we're laying the foundation, and, we're on the road to the 2021 season.
Let's jump in. Let's talk about these guys. We're gonna kind of highlight both sides of the football. Talk to me about Baker Mayfield's comfortability in the second year in the system, second year with his coaches. How's that look for you? Who else is kind of standing out offensively for you?
Well, we'll start with Baker, and the word that I've been using on Browns Daily and Browns Live and 2-minute drill is command. It just feels like he has a complete command of this offense. It feels like he is so comfortable with the offense, taking on that leadership role. You see him talking to receivers after plays, getting these routes precisely how he wants them. And he's throwing an accurate ball. He's throwing a very, very good ball. His footwork compared to this time a year ago when they were working on those transitions with Alex Van Pelt is vastly improved. And in fact, I was watching some practice today with Joe Thomas, and that was the first thing that he said. Man, his footwork looks superb. And Baker was ripping it out there. So I would just say total command, total comfort, and it's great to see, him finally in the same system for 2 years in a row. And then to your other question, which is, who's standing out on offense so far? First of all, Odell looks incredible. The fact that he's coming back from an injury that was suffered, in week 7 a year ago is kind of hard to believe. Now, we have not seen much of him in team drills. I think they're, easing him back in, which makes a lot of sense. But just when he's running routes, even on air, he looks great. So I'm very excited to see how he's incorporated. But the guys who have really kind of stood out, I'll give you a couple of youngsters. It's hard to say right now with, the offensive line, and we know how good this line is, but the pads are coming on, as I said, tomorrow. We'll get a better idea then. But Donovan Peoples-Jones has really worked on his body, and in talking to people in the organization, he's a name that comes up every time when I say, who would you say had a really, really good offseason? Who's helping themselves? Donovan Peoples-Jones. He looks faster. He's moving very well, and he's making plays, it seems like, every single day in camp. So, and he's getting an opportunity, to work a lot with the top unit because of Odell and, Jarvis taking it a little easy. And then another guy that really has kind of caught my eye offensively would be Demetric Felton, the rookie out of UCLA. And, he's so shifty and elusive in the open field. You see that naturally. He's gotten reps as a running back. He's gotten reps as a wide receiver. He has gotten reps as a returner. He's gotten reps as a gunner. And so this is a guy that you look at and you say, okay, when you're going to be maybe the 4th running back / 6th receiver, what do you have to do? You got to be able to bring it on special teams. And so far, Demetric Felton's looking like a guy who could maybe fulfill, multiple roles for this organization in just one spot on the 53. So I think, the strong play we saw from him in mini camp and rookie mini camp has continued early here in the training camp.
So unique to have so many players back offensively, all 5 starting linemen return.
Yeah.
What have you noticed about the offensive line? And some of the guys like Nick Harris and James Hudson, those youngsters, I know it's kind of tough to see from our perspective in camp, but have you gotten a vibe on how those young guys are coming along and just how advantageous it is to have all those guys back as your starters?
Yeah, you got your top 5 linemen are back. It's really your top 7 linemen from a year ago when you think about, Nick Harris as well as Chris Hubbard, who's back and started camp, not on the PUP list, which is great news for his recovery. And then now you add in Hudson, who's probably number 8, and there's going to be some battle, whether it's a Drew Forbes or a Michael Dunn or a Blake Hance to figure out, who that 9th lineman is and, the next up interior guy. But those youngsters are looking good. The line itself is looking good. I mean, they know you can just see the cohesion when they're running some of those wide zones, some of those plays where they have to track together. You just see their ability to know when to get off those double teams, when to get to the second level. And so they look great. I think, Jed Wills has had more opportunity now at left tackle. This is his first full off season. And look, let's be honest, he's got his hands full. He's either seeing, Myles Garrett or Jadeveon Clowney or Tack McKinley who can burn and blister around that edge. And so, he's coming along. But the young guys, what I've heard and just kind of talking around to people, that they're very pleased with the development of Nick Harris, who's, now really settled into that backup center role. And then Hudson, you can just see the natural athleticism and the footwork and such a raw, piece of clay, only 1 year started there. But boy, he's in a great system and a great spot where you hope you don't see him at all this year. But if you do, you know that he's going to get coached up so well by Bill Callahan and Scott Peters.
What an awesome opportunity it is for him. Glad to hear those things about the offensive line. Let's switch to defense. I know a little bit of somber news. Hopefully not too somber. We'll see how it shakes out. Anthony Walker, he's been a great focal point about all the things he brings. Talk about Walk a little bit, and then, just like the offense, touch on any other names that you're hearing about.
Yeah, sure. Anthony Walker's kind of come in and really cemented himself as a leader of this defense quickly. I mean, you can just see how the other linebackers gravitate towards him. You heard what John Johnson had to say about him in his press conference, that, Anthony Walker, that's the guy who's going to be calling the defense. And he's kind of really, like I said, just assumed that leadership role. And I guess it's not surprising when you heard what Darius Leonard and some of the other Colts had to say about him when it was clear that he was leaving Indianapolis to come be a Cleveland Brown. He has looked good. He has been the starting Mike linebacker from basically rep one. You hope that this knee issue that the Browns highlighted is nothing serious. If it is, I would expect to see Jacob Phillips step into that Mike linebacker role in the interim. And, hopefully we'll get Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah back soon, although he'd be a Will, not a Mike. But really, Anthony Walker Jr. has really done a nice job cementing himself as kind of, the main guy on defense. And I would even go so far as to say his impact is being felt by the other linebackers. You've heard Mac Wilson talk about what an influence he's been on him. And Mac's another guy that I would say, if you talk to people in the organization, they would say has had an outstanding offseason in tremendous condition. And, Mac, he basically told us, look, I never really felt right after that injury last year. I did not play my best football. I was thinking about my body. I was thinking about my assignments. He really threw himself into the playbook. He is in tremendous condition, and he's looked really, really good to start. John Johnson just jumps off, he jumps off the field at you. He's in the right place at the right time consistently. He's looked great. Up front, all of the newcomers I really have been impressed by. I think Andrew Billings looks good in the middle of that defense. Malik Jackson, as a one-gap penetrator and interior pass rusher, has shown some things. Clowney is in the backfield all the time. And then the guy who's missed, parts of the last 2 days and then missed today with an illness is Tack McKinley. But, boy, when he has been out there, he is electric. He is just exploding off the line of scrimmage. His ability to get around that edge, I think, is very impressive, a relentless motor, and I'm excited to see what Tack can do in this defense. And then I'll go kind of more in the deeper period here. A.J. Green, last year's top undrafted free agent, who signed the biggest undrafted free agent contract in the league. The corner out of Oklahoma State has had an excellent start to camp, getting his hands on the football quite a bit, having a tip that led to an interception. He's really, really kind of looking good, and I think, right now, I would say he's looking pretty good in a competition with a guy like Robert Jackson, maybe to be that last outside corner.
That's great to hear about A.J. Green. Seen that pop up several times. Let's talk real quick, if you can, updates on how Delpit, Greedy are looking coming back from injury. And then we've seen some things through building the Browns on Greg Newsome, but just some of your early takeaways on the rookie.
Well, first of all, I'll go with Greg Newsome. Physically, insanely impressive. His quads are unlike the quads I've ever seen on a defensive back. They're massive. And I was talking to him today, joking with him. I'm like, what is the deal with your quads, bro? And he said, I've been squatting ever since I was a little kid. He goes, everybody keeps asking me about it on the team. And, well, Greg Newsome has been as advertised. His ability to kind of get low, and, his DB coach, Jeff Howard, attributed some of that to that quad strength. He can play so low to the ground, which allows him to really change direction easily, mirror routes. He's looked good. His confidence, his football IQ, I'm told, are off the charts and kind of belies the fact that he's a rookie. So they're very excited about him. As for the guys coming back from injury, we've seen much more of Greedy than I would say we've seen of Grant. And Greedy looks like the old Greedy. Fast, guy very comfortable in kind of those press man situations. And then as for Grant, it's been limited kind of like Odell in terms of what they've done with him in team situations. But from a physical standpoint, when you see him in individuals, he looks great. His ability to change directions and close on the football, really, which is kind of a hallmark of this defense right now. Those caps, those windows, they close fast. And I think that's something that's very exciting for Joe Woods. And we haven't even seen JOK yet. And I mean, he was, to me, probably the star of the rookie minicamp and the minicamp period in terms of somebody that just, wow, jumped out at you. And the Browns hopefully will be getting JOK back sometime, towards the end of this week.
Well, Nathan, these are great insights, man. I know the OBR and our Twitch followers really appreciate you taking some time in the car for us, man. Thanks again.
Oh, man, first of all, my pleasure. Always great talking to you. And look, this is exciting. And I'll leave this with you guys here. The Nick Chubb news is tremendous, and I think it's great news for not only for Nick Chubb and well-deserved, but great news for this organization, the way they were able to get this done and come to this agreement in a way that is mutually beneficial, not only for Nick, but also I think for the Cleveland Browns and the way that it was put together. And then the other thing I'll share with you is I got a chance to talk with Kareem Hunt early last week, right when camp was starting. And he said to me, look, we look around this locker room. We know what kind of talent we have. We look at our coaching staff. We know how good they are. And so we know that there is a responsibility to put in the work to make sure everybody's doing everything they can to get the most out of what is a potentially very special situation where we are very talented, very well coached, and have a chance, to do the ultimate goal in this sport, which is a hoist the Lombardi at the end of the season. And they know they've got to take it step by step. Nobody's looking ahead. Nobody's taking anything for granted. But I thought that notion, and I shared that with Joe Thomas today on Browns Daily, but that notion of, we know what we've got here, and so we have a responsibility to make sure we get the most out of it, I thought was a pretty special thing to hear and should be another reason to be excited about this team and just the focus and the collective mindset of this team and this organization right now.
That's great insight. Thanks for sharing. I mean, I know that's something that not everybody knows about, and it's great to hear the team mentality, man. Thanks again, Nathan, so much.
You got it, brother. Appreciate it.